1:06. With the lights off, I sat on the goatskin and focused on my breathing. My first spell was going to be one of Grandma's favorites, a simple one to tidy my room. Given how much energy I was about to use, I seriously doubted I'd ever be able to fold my clothes again, but oh well. 1:07. Time to begin. I grabbed the closest bronze bowls, one in each hand. I started saying the preparatory chants. I humbled myself before Mother Hecate, thanking her for the gift of witchcraft and dedicating my spells to her. Following the ancient liturgies, I recited my lineage, reminding the goddess of my foremothers and their deep devotion to her, promising that our devotion would continue. I glanced at the clock by my bed. 1:19. The chant was over, and I only sped up a little toward the end. Now we wait. 1:21. 1:23. 1:24. Mother Hecate answered my call. The bowls in my hands filled with fire. 2 torches, lit only by magic, a sign of her favor. At this point, my shoulders relaxed. It's rare for the goddess to refuse a witch, but you do hear stories. 1:25. A warning: this is where witchcraft gets a little spooky. If you're not familiar with Greek mythology, Hecate is a 3-bodied goddess. As her followers, classical witches are also 3-bodied when we cast. Strange, right? The first body is our physical body, the one that keeps us grounded and human. The second body holds our own power, a manifestation of the magic that's deep inside of us. The third body is the manifestation of our foremothers, the ancient source of our magic. The second body feels familiar. It feels like me. It's a bit like astral projection, being yourself but outside yourself. Even now, I'm still a little intimidated by my third body. She feels ancient, powerful, and there's this distance in how she looks at the mundane ways I use magic. My third body still believes we should be meddling with the royal succession of Scotland. 1:26. My eyes are closed, but it feels like I have other eyes open. I can see my other bodies, not quite solid but more than ghostly, connected to me at the hips, their limbs stretching. 1:28. Time for the first spell. All 3 of my voices began chanting. One was my own, and the other sounded like it had been dragged through ages, raspy, ancient, and far more comfortable with ancient Greek. The flames in the bowls flared brighter as we began to bend the magic to our will. Another thing to know: magic always requires sacrifice. Our first spell needed only a minor one. My third body took the bronze knife and, as we chanted, dragged it across the palm of my second body. Blood, black and thick, pooled in her hand, which she tipped into the third bowl at the top of the ark. I know it seems like a lot just to tidy my room, but even though we all feel the pain, my physical body doesn't carry the wounds. The second body made the sacrifice because this spell was small enough to be powered by my own magic. The range was short, and I wasn't trying to work magic on anyone else. Still, it fucking hurts, and it takes control not to falter in the chanting, which now demanded our power to clean and put things away. It sounds bizarre in ancient Greek, trust me. 1:42. The sacrifice was accepted, and as the third bowl flared into flame, I entered the trance. My physical body had done its part in summoning the other 2, and now they would take over. The trance is strange. You're still aware of everything around you, but you're not part of it. You can watch through your other eyes, but it's weird to see yourself slumped like a marionette with only 2 strings left, the ones holding the burning bowls. My other equipment plays its role now. The key hovers above the third bowl, gently spinning. Our sacrifice unlocks the portal to our magic, bringing it into the physical world. The snake statue, no longer just a statue, moves around us on the goatskin, keeping us together, binding us. In this space, time doesn't exist. Not helpful when you're in a rush. In the trance, it's impossible to tell if the spell is working or if anything is happening outside. There's just the chant, the flames, and the tight feeling of magic in your gut. And then the release. The magic doesn't flow out like a long, satisfying breath. No, it rips out of every pore, tearing you apart in its desperation to be free. This is where the snake comes in. That perimeter forces the energy to follow its purpose, pushing it into the sacrifice, making the flames grow higher and higher until the magic finally accepts its direction. Then, it starts to fold my clothes and clear the dust off the top of the wardrobe. 2:02. Only then does my physical body return to itself, every joint cracked and creaked as I straightened up. My other bodies were waiting. They could feel this wasn't the end. They wanted more. 2:03. The third fire went out and the others dimmed. My other voices continued chanting urgency in every word. This next spell was complicated and I was cutting it very close. I could stop here. But no. I'm a witch and this asshole had nearly ruined my whole week. If I can't have my revenge, what's the point of magic? I could feel my third body's lips twist into a smirk. This was what she wanted magic done right, for the right reasons. 2:04. The chant changed. It felt older, deeper. We were casting into an unknown distance, targeting another person. Izzy had probably told me Dan's address, though she'd never been there. She sure as hell knew where it was, but I hadn't paid attention. That was okay though. It would just take more power, a greater sacrifice. 2:05. This time, it was my second body that picked up the knife. My third body held out both of her hands and the blade sliced deep into both palms. Smoke poured from the wounds, twisting and shaping into serpents and hounds howling at the moon. 2:08. This was the power of my ancestors, ancient and terrible. The three of us blew on the smoke, pushing it into the third bowl. As we began our chant again, the bowl ignited in a sudden rush, flames blazing in copper, suspended above it. I slipped into the trance once more, and this time, my second body joined me. Time meant nothing again. Alone, my third body fed the flames with more smoky essence from her wounds. Big magic like this is strange. My first and second bodies might have been lifeless, but something still moved our mouths, forcing the chant to continue. Over this, my third body added a terrible descant high in keening. She sang of blood, violence, vengeance, and ancient wrongs. There was joy in her voice. I usually didn't let her fully stretch her power like this, but now she was free. Dan's face appeared in the flames, sleeping. We saw him as he was in that very moment. This time, the magic didn't tear out of us. Most of its force had been spent in the previous spell. We guided it through the billowing smoke, feeding it into the sacrifice. We sat there for what felt like a long time, layering the curse, ensuring Dan would suffer. Finally, the flames were drawn into the central bowl and went out. I was left in darkness, still feeling my other bodies beside me, spent. Then, the circle broke and they were gone. I was alone, one girl sitting on a goatskin, a blackened knife before her, utterly exhausted. 2:58. So close. I hadn't pushed it this far in a long time. I slumped, sweat dripping down my forehead, struggling to catch my breath, but my stomach at least felt calm now. After a few minutes, my breathing slowed and I managed to drag myself into bed. The witching hour was over, and somewhere, I hoped, Dan was being woken by a sudden, very uncomfortable gurgle in his stomach. This story revolves around magic and the life of a young witch trying to navigate the challenges it brings. However, it's important to understand that while the story explores the concept of magic, it doesn't promote it as something right or desirable. In reality, practicing magic goes against the values of many belief systems, including Islam, where it is considered a forbidden and harmful practice. Magic, in any form, is a deceptive illusion that leads one away from faith, causing spiritual harm. The message behind this story is a reminder that seeking power through such means only brings destruction, and true strength comes from faith, patience, and following the right path.